the hottest news out of the obstacle racing scene? Want to stay up to date on the freshest info, the latest podiums, and hear interviews with the who's who in OCR? Well, you've come to the wrong place. Well, some of that you'll find here. But we're not the media. This is not ORM, OCM, OCRM, ORCM. This is OCR Talk.
Hello, this is Jason Dupree.
And I'm Anna Landry.
I think my gain's up too loud. No, it's okay.
Are you louder than me?
Thanks for joining us on OCR Talk. Look at my peaks, though. They're so high.
They're so big. The peaks are so big.
And yours are so low.
And mine are so little.
That's okay. Well, the whole reason we're talking about that is because we are doing this the old school method. You know, we haven't done pure audio in a while. We've been doing all the live streams for all the testing and stuff. So I think because of the last live stream I did, I feel really good about what we've got. So we can come back to that and talk about it some. But I'm like, all right, cool. Let's just go back to the basics and just do the audio. We're using Zencaster, the website for the recording, and that's all we need. We don't need no fancy technology for this. So this is episode number 54, with the 53 being the live audio from my pit during Virtual Toughest. But we can get into all that stuff. Anna, how's it going?
It's going. I have done like nothing this week. How about you?
I actually pulled something, I think the day before Toughest. I went out on like a 2-mile run just to kind of, keep the legs moving.
Yeah.
And by the end of the day, I was like, something is not right in like the upper inside back area of my left leg. And sure enough, after Toughest, like it didn't bother me during Toughest, but after Toughest, the next couple of days after, it just got worse and worse. So I spent like 2 days kind of hobbling around, and every time I'd sit down, it would just put pressure on that spot, and it hurt.
Yeah.
Pretty bad.
I rolled my ankle the Wednesday before Toughest. And it was such a stupid injury because like I hardly ever roll my ankle now. But like I was out running early in the morning as I did. And, with all the smoke from all the wildfires, it's always been like so dark and cloudy and hazy. And on this particular morning, I could see like so many stars and I could actually see the moon. So I was looking up at the sky as I was running and I was like, oh, the sky is so pretty. And then roll my ankle like an idiot. So
did you like hobble it off or did you fall down?
No, like I popped back up pretty quick. I didn't fall or anything. Like as soon as it happened, like I popped back on my feet pretty quick, but I definitely felt it. So I was like, well, it's Wednesday. I should be okay as long as I like stay off of it for the rest of the week, not like push it or anything. So like I would just get on the assault bike or like I just did a whole bunch of walking at work. But by my last lap for Toughest, it was not having it at all. I was so done. Like I felt like my ankle was swollen like twice the size of my other one, which it wasn't. I was just being dramatic, but it was still painful. Like it was still really painful. So,
Wow.
And I definitely felt it like going up the hills, like whenever I was climbing. So I was like, I'm glad this is my 7th and my last lap. I think I'm just going to call it good right here.
Well, how was it recovery this week on that ankle?
It wasn't bad. I made sure to wear like compression socks and keep it iced if I felt like that was helping. So now it feels completely back to normal. So I think maybe start slowly getting back into it.
Yeah, it's been just a week off. I mean, I have been dealing with the house stuff, getting ready for that. So but it was nice just letting myself heal up, and honestly, it felt like one night it was like, oh, it's just all of a sudden almost back to normal. And then the next day, it was still. I could tell if I like kind of went into like a running position and kind of bounced around, it was a little tender.
Mm-hmm.
But then the next day after that, which was I guess Friday, and it was like, oh wow, it doesn't feel bad at all anymore. And I ran this morning.
Yeah.
So I did a 5-mile run this morning and then did a 2-hour workout after it, and it felt great. Felt normal.
Yeah, I was gonna
No
say
problems at all.
I saw the Instagram story and the Facebook story about your workout at Miles's new gym.
Yep, got to go finally to the Foundry Gym, which is in South Lake here in the DFW area. Miles Keller, who people might recognize from the Link Endurance podcast with Mo. And, they haven't, I think Mo's still been doing it some, but he hasn't been doing it with Miles. And honestly, Miles has got 2 gigs now with, regular job and this gym. So he probably doesn't have a ton of time for it anyway. Plus, engaged and kids and all that good stuff. So
Yeah, I think Mo is actually changing the name of his podcast, I think. Or like his whole he's like rebranding.
Oh
It was
wow.
like the last thing I heard. So yeah.
Okay.
I can't remember off the top of my head what, and I feel really kind of bad, but because I listened to that episode a while back and I was like, oh, that's interesting. He's like rebranding pretty much everything of his. So it's not
Yeah, I'm
gonna
sure
be
I'll see
Link-
it soon.
Yeah, it's not going to be Link Endurance anymore. It's going to be something else.
Okay. But yeah, the Foundry was really cool. And so while we were there, we did like some exercise type things with a run and then an obstacle for each round. So we did one with Twister, one with monkey bars, and then we did 4. We did one with a rig and one with an Olympus style wall that they have.
Cool.
So while I was there, I was like, out of all the times I've seen this technique for Twister, I've never gotten a chance to try it. And so that was like the first thing I did is like, I got to go try this out and see if it works. So, if you saw from the Instagram story, but for those listening, it's taking your first hand and kind of swinging the Twister like a monkey bar. So you're kind of swinging hand over hand and more of a dead hang. And so when you grab with the right hand, depending on what the way the bar is going, which typically I think it's turning counterclockwise. So when you grab with the right hand, you grab the bar normal, the hold normal. But when you go on the left hand, you can turn your left hand backwards. So if your hand's facing away from you, just turn it to the left and then grab the bar that way. And that way, when you pull down, the bar rolls into your hand instead of out of your hand as it would normally trying to swing it that way. So it was very effective and it feels comfortable. You go through it quicker because you can skip holds, and it was awesome. I loved it.
Yeah,
I'm going to do that every time, I think.
Yeah, I want to try that then whenever that is,
Right.
the next race.
So it feels similar to, kind of the swinging monkey method for Pegatron, if anybody's ever seen anybody do it that way.
Yeah.
Pegatron's obviously more difficult because you got to still get the peg in there while you're swinging, but that method is pretty good. It's not as taxing.
Mm-hmm.
The hardest part about it, either one really, is that you've got to be able to dead hang, and swing, not just dead hang, swing on your non-dominant hand.
Yeah.
So that's the part that really will get you if you're tired, and you'll go on that, left hand if you're right-handed, and it'll slip right out because you're just not as strong on that hand.
I can see that being tricky for some people who don't quite have the dead hang ability especially just from one hand, but they're also their non-dominant hand,
Yeah, so that's one of the things that is extremely good to work on is getting, different monkey bar style or pull-up style workouts where you're switching your grip a lot, letting go with one hand to move to another hold or something like that. I feel like that's what I did a ton of to get to where I could actually do Pegatron at one point.
Yeah.
But yeah, that workout was pretty awesome. It was great to see Miles, and after I went and I ate some seafood, and I'm so stuffed right now. I went to a place and I didn't really have a big meal after Toughest, and we'll talk about why, but I kind of got my meal in today. So I went to this place and I was like, I know the crawfish are going to be out of season, so I'll probably end up getting maybe some shrimp and maybe some snow crab. And
man.
they had like a bag, like a sack option where you can get all three. I was like, well, let me go ahead and do that.
You seemed like a
So I'm
good
pretty
idea
sure
at
it
the
was like
time.
it was like 3.5 pounds worth of stuff
Holy crap.
and potatoes, sausage, and corn. So I saved some of my sides for later so that I could eat because I didn't want to take the seafood home and stink up the house for my wife. So I went ahead and just ate it all.
Man,
It was
that's
rough,
what I miss.
but
I
it was
miss some
good.
good seafood. Good fresh
Mm,
seafood.
I don't know if I've ever told you about this place called Shell Shack
Mhm.
and this place that I went to today called Crab Kitchen, I think.
Uh-huh.
And they do it very similar. So, nothing beats a good old crawfish boil where somebody's got the pot and the fire's on and
Yeah.
the water's boiling and they're throwing all the stuff in there and the food just sits. The crawfish and the sides just sit in the boil and then they cook that way. Now, I understand why these restaurants don't tend to do that because you're trying to feed a ton of people, and if that's not like the meal that everybody eats, then it's just not quite as effective to boil. Anyway, so what they do is they boil it, I think, in a very mild flavor, but then they take it and they say what seasoning or what flavor do you want, and you can get as low as nothing to very hot stuff. So their special seasoning is not quite the typical crab boil that you think. Instead, it's more like a mush of seasonings that they put the once so they probably already have the crawfish and stuff boiled already, and then they put it in a bag with the seasoning, and so it's a sauce slash kind of really muddy mixture of stuff. And then the crawfish are like in that mush, and then they put that in that plastic bag. It's a very thick bag, and I think they boiled that with the stuff in it. So it's kind of like a way to prepare everything ahead of time, and then very quickly kick it out with the flavor you want.
Hmm.
So if you popped the tail out and you just ate it by itself, it would probably be kind of bland.
Yeah.
But you've got all this seasoning to like almost dip it in, and it's actually really, really dang good. Now I wouldn't trade that for a good old fashioned crawfish boil, but it's still pretty good.
Yeah, you can't beat that.
No. So that was a lot of talk about seafood. Oh, speaking of which, since the Hurricane Laura just came through, a lot of people have been asking me, living here in Dallas and having family from Louisiana, they've been asking, how's your family doing? Everybody okay? And so I've been telling everybody, yeah, they're just fine. It's very odd to me that hurricane went where it did. I just can't recall, 30 years living in Louisiana, in the New Orleans area, I can't recall a hurricane ever going up the border of Louisiana and Texas like that.
Yeah.
Can you think of one?
I really can't think of one. Maybe, what was it, Andrew or something? I can't remember.
Andrew was like right on top of us where we were.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't remember.
So,
or maybe it was, well, Rita hit more like Acadiana area. Like,
but still not quite that far west.
Yeah, not quite that far west.
Yeah. Like this is probably the worst that St. Charles has gotten it.
Oh, yeah,
I
for
believe.
sure. In a long time, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, because my friends in Lafayette, it looked like they were all doing okay. Like they were without power for a little while. And I think there's still some people without power, but for the most part, like Lafayette proper, like everybody in town is pretty much set as far as power goes now. I know like one of my trail running group from back home too, they were going to be heading out to Lake Charles as a group to kind of go help out like wherever they could.
Nice.
Because I know some of them have like some family maybe or friends that live out that way.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, good luck to all those people out there. Hopefully, it wasn't too bad for anybody. I know it really felt like the media was really kind of pumping this storm up. I kept seeing the word unsurvivable surge over and over again. And it's just like there's a balance between fear mongering
Yeah.
and being safe.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It didn't quite feel like it was. It didn't feel like they needed to say all that.
Yeah. I feel like there's enough of that going around right there right now, and that, like, adding a hurricane and the words "unsurvivable surge" is a little unnecessary.
Right. They should have just said social distance with the coast.
Right.
Maybe people would have understood that better.
Exactly.
All right. Well, let's get into some OCR. We got, I think the biggest topic for this is virtual toughest and kind of how that went. So let's talk about a couple of other things beforehand. Savage Race had their race up in Chicago, and from what they said, it looked like it went off pretty well.
Yeah, they got some pretty good reviews on it too.
Yeah, I think they had the elites go. I want to say they did waves instead of all at once, and they tried to gauge and put the people that would be up in front in the first wave anyways. But I think they may still went off of chip time, so kind of the way the short course in OCR Worlds does, and then of course after that all the open waves were shorter, smaller groups as well. But I'm kind of torn because Savage Race is coming here on October 10th, and that same weekend is Spartacus Dash, which is a small town race that's for a charity or something down in Belton, Texas, which is about an hour, 2.5 hours south of here. And we have gone to that every year for the past 3 years, I think, maybe 4. Layla's run it. April ran it with Layla. Even Declan's done a little bit of it. So at this point, it's like that's the race that we all get to do together. So it'd be a shame to miss that, but we're not 100% sure if they're actually going to hold that one either. They've been trying to gauge their crowd and figure out what to do.
Well, so is Savage Race still doing? They're not doing their Saturday Sunday format, right? They're just doing
correct. I believe it's just Saturday,
all one day.
Yeah, you can still do Blitz, but it's all on Saturday.
Yeah, so it's not like you could go to one on Saturday and then do the other on Sunday.
Right. And typically when we do that Spartacus Dash, I'll run the first wave, and then after I get back, then it's time for the kids' wave. So then Layla goes, and I'll, either I run it with her or April does, and then so at this point it'll probably be all 4 of us hopefully running together with Declan too. But by the time we're done, and especially if I did well, and like last time I got age group podium. So, you wait around for that, and then you go like to Pizza Hut after or whatever, and then by the time you get home, it's already 3:00.
Yeah.
But we usually drive down there first and get a hotel the night before, so that's kind of part of the fun of it. Like the kids love that stuff.
Mini road trip for them.
Yep. Yeah. Speaking of which, we actually did a legit family summer vacation. We got an Airbnb with a pool because we don't have one ourselves. And went and just stayed at this house for 5 nights, and it was in Austin, very cool area, and actually had a nature preserve like across the street, and I got to go run the trails there. Took the family hiking on the trails, and which makes me like I would love to go check out all the trails around there because when you could even. In that nature preserve, there were trails that led out of there, and I looked at the map, and they just went on forever, and it looked like some of them even went down in like some gorges and stuff. Oh man, it's probably amazing out there.
Yeah, that Airbnb looked like so much fun. Do the kids like have gills from swimming every day?
Yeah, it's just wake up, eat breakfast, go sit by the pool until the sun, hit you, and then get in the water.
Yeah.
It was pretty fantastic.
Wasn't there like a rig or a little like obstacle?
There was.
Yeah.
So there was a zip line over the pool, and then there was a strap, like a slackline strap.
Uh-huh.
Or tie down, I guess what it really is, a strap, and then they had hanging from it different holds, and so the kids were not playing on it a ton, but they did go play on it a couple of times.
I'm sure.
And then at night, getting a jacuzzi.
Yeah.
So it was pretty rad. And we didn't expect it, but they had so many games and toys there. Like we brought all our own stuff, and we're like, all right, we're gonna play board games and whatever. And they had so many kids' toys, so many books, an Xbox which we didn't even touch.
That's awesome.
So many board games. It just we played ours, but we played a ton of their stuff too. And the kids, of course, were just going nuts with all the Legos and just all these other toys that they don't have.
Right.
They have some Legos, but just not those ones.
But it's different Legos.
Right. Yeah. They even had pool toys. They had a couple of dolphins.
Cool.
Inflatable dolphins. Savage Race. Back to Savage Race. I really do want to do Anchors Away. That's probably my biggest draw. I mean, the whole race in itself is fun, but that's my biggest draw for wanting to go to it.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I like a little part of me hopes that Sparkus Dash cancels, but at the same time, I don't. But whatever's best for them, they're trying to be safe, keep everybody safe.
Yeah.
So
yeah, for sure.
I saw an interesting email came through. I'm trying to remember what race company it came from. I'm blanking on it now, but it said it put out their 2021 refund policies. Obviously, since COVID has started happening, refund policies for so many different companies have changed what they normally, said you could get a refund for. Much, much more lenient than typically. And so now I'm seeing these refund policies for next year already coming out. And it's interesting to me because I see why they're doing it. I think from a marketing standpoint, they're saying, hey, look, we understand that we aren't even sure if we're going to be able to have a race next year, but we still want you to sign up. But we don't want you to be worried that if something happens. So they're being more open about saying if you book a race for 2021 or for 2021 and it gets canceled, you will have the option for just a flat out full refund.
Mm-hmm.
So don't worry, we want you there, but we can't promise anything. So
that's just crazy. Like it's not even. We're not even. We're already halfway through 2020, thank God. But but just But so I had told you that I had signed up for 100K here, maybe. I don't know.
I don't think so.
It was supposed to happen at the end of September, and with everything going on and everything, the company that puts it on was able to have an event like sometime towards the end of July. And it was like very successful event. It was really well run. They capped it at just so many participants and everything, and they spaced them out really well. Plus it was like a 12-hour ultra that they had held in a different county, and everything went really, really well. Well, so this one, the event that I had signed up for, because I was like chomping at the bit, right? Like this was the only other event I was looking forward to for this year and like holding out hope for. But they were holding it in a different county. So they were allowing people to register through Ultra Sign Up. But the stipulation was that your card wouldn't be charged until 3 days before the event, if the event was to happen. So I kind of like that, because it ended up getting canceled. It ended up getting canceled anyway. So my card never got charged, and like no harm, no foul, But it would, and I guess like with Spartan's whole like race for $1 thing, I guess it's like the same kind of thing.
A little bit, yeah.
But I liked that format. Like I can sign up for it and I won't be charged until like 3 days before the event, because 3 days before the event, it's on, like it's happening,
Right. Yeah, and that is really nice because that has been my hesitation to sign up for anything 2021 so far. No, that's not true. I've signed up for a couple of things, but
Non-virtual.
but for the most part, I haven't signed up for as much stuff as I would normally.
Right.
And I do feel like I would if it was, we won't charge you until such and such date
Mhm.
if the race happens.
Yeah.
But at the same time, for their marketing, I can understand why these companies kind of rely on the signups that they get, a year in advance. Like that's part of their normal influx of cash. But now they're not getting that, so they're really trying to say, "Hey, don't worry, we'll give it back to you if it doesn't happen." Which
Yeah.
that's a gamble for themselves, but they're doing it. So
Yeah. I saw a Cowtown Marathon over in Fort Worth was already postponing their event. It's supposed to like happen in February or something, but they postponed
Oh,
it
wow.
in May.
What? Like
Yeah.
2021?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my.
It's just, I know. And like just seeing that, I'm like, no, you can't take away hope for January and February.
Oh man.
Like at this point, I'm just trying to hold out until after November.
Yeah, right.
See what happens.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Anything non-Tough Mudder related?
No, there's nothing else going on.
That's true. It's so true.
There's nothing else going on. Oh my god.
Yeah, my schedule, I believe, is pretty bare race-wise until October has as of now. October, we do have that Spartacus Dash that we're hoping for, and Savage Race, which is looking good since they had one in Chicago. Conquer the Gauntlet here in the DFW area on October 17th, and they're saying, "Look, we're doing it. We're having races." So
Yeah.
we'll see.
Well, I think Conquer the Gauntlet is the same weekend as Virtual Worlds.
No,
No?
Virtual Worlds is
Oh
still
no,
the
that
same
was in
weekend as.
Utah. Never mind. That was in Kansas. My mistake.
Oh, okay. And then me and my friends are doing our 50 miler. We pushed it from September to October, which will be much cooler, hopefully. And then I think, actually, yeah, that's right. 50 Ranch out here is going to have a race at the end of September, so I might go do that as well.
So I just need to come to Texas if I want to race.
Well,
It's pretty much what you're saying.
yeah, there's a few things out here. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Grit Fitness has their endurance race again.
Oh,
The Grit Ultra.
Yeah, they're still
at the end of the year.
Right. They're still registering for that. They're still
Yeah, I mean they had their Grit Games.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not too long ago here.
Yeah. That looks
Hey, are you not
That's
considered on that team anymore since you moved?
No, I deferred my spot on the team this year just because I knew like life was going to get crazy. And I didn't know
Yeah.
because I was like, I don't know how much time like I'll be able to actually devote to racing and like actually doing well at these races because like life is weird and like I've got this job now and I feel like they're trying to put me in a administrative position, so I'm trying to fill that like so like there was so many things on my plate that I was having to concentrate on that I was like, I don't know if I can like go all in on my racing or if it's just,
Joke's on you. You didn't get to race anyway.
Exactly. But yeah, I still totally promote their gym because I love that gym. That's Kenny is
Yeah.
awesome. And like their whole setup, and they've got a few new locations now around in that area, which is
Oh wow.
yeah, so it's really awesome. And like I really can't wait till I'm down again in that area just to like go check it out and go see them again and all that good stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I was actually thinking about the Grit Ultra because they have several different distances now available.
Really?
They have like a 50-mile option, a 50K option.
So it'd just be like 12 hours instead of 24?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, so yeah, they have a couple different registration options, which is cool because it opens it up to a lot more people.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was considering it. especially now since like I think that's the only other thing on the calendar for this year. But yeah.
Yeah, I am still considering it as well. I mean, it's New Year's, so we spent New Year's at my parents in Louisiana last year, so it'd be nice to go do that.
Yeah. And I think like they even
But
set off
getting in a
fireworks
new
at
house,
midnight and stuff, and it was all
yeah,
it's like a really cool experience. But yeah, getting a new
yeah, it
house
sounds
and
like
life, and yeah, that all that
right.
really, really
So who knows if we what's that?
all that's gonna come really, really fast.
No, right, yeah. Yeah, speaking of which, we close on Monday, and we'll be moving in the second half of the month, so
Nice.
we'll still have a minute before we get to go be in it. But
Yeah.
closing is going to be exciting in itself. Yeah,
I got the ball rolling on that today. I'm like nervous.
you did?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Because I mean, there's like all kinds of properties going up for sale around the area, and like it's crazy. Like as you'd think with the pandemic going on and everything, the real estate market wouldn't be doing great, but it's probably doing as better or as good as it has been, because like
Yeah.
as soon as I find a house I like that I want to go look at, the next day it's sold and it's under contract.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. For us, it was just like we wanted to do this eventually, but now we're spending every single day at home anyway.
right.
So let's get in a house that we're gonna enjoy more.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I definitely want to get in on it before the end of the year, of course, because like house prices are just going to go up next year. So,
Yeah.
I definitely wanted to get it done before the end of the year. So I just took a leap. I'm like, all right, let's just get this ball rolling. Let's see what we can do.
Right on. Yeah. Good luck.
Yeah.
Speaking of buying stuff, Josh McCarty, a friend of mine, he said they just recently closed on some property. I'm wanting to say it's east of Dallas, so kind of like towards Tyler, out that way. And he said it's got some hills and stuff, and out in the woods, and it's got some good trails and whatnot. So several acres of land, so might be a good place to go train and camp out.
Right. That would be awesome.
Started hearing a noise. Okay, I think we're good. Have you? I'm sure you've been listening to the OCR Coven.
Yes. Yeah, we just recorded an episode this week.
Oh, right on. I just listened. What's that?
I said spoiler alert if this gets released before our episode gets released.
I just listened today to Kim getting interviewed by
Caitlin.
Yeah. And then her interviewing Allison Ty.
Yeah, those were really awesome episodes.
And yeah, speaking of which, I don't think I knew about Allison Ty's property that they purchased and basically have a farm and an obstacle course race, obstacle course on. But that sounds amazing.
Right?
Like if things go back to normal, that sounds like a race I want to go to.
Yeah, like I think I'd take a trip to Vancouver just to go like drive a couple hours and go see her farm, because I'm pretty sure she was actually planning before COVID hit. She was planning on an event at her property for like locally for people that she trains and different kinds of things like that. But yeah, I would totally make a trip up there just to go check it out. It sounds amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. If we can, let's make that happen, because that would be super cool.
Yeah. Road trip. Knocking on Canada's borders. Let us in, please.
Right. So I want to talk about toughest, but before we get into that, I want to bring up something very serious for a moment. I know, there's plenty of people that we know that deal with depression, and it's not something I personally deal with, and so I don't want anybody to think that. But unfortunately, a cousin of mine who I was very close with when I was young, he killed himself recently, and it's obviously it's sad. But the most interesting thing I thought about it, I mean, of course, the biggest thing is you want people to understand, if you deal with things. Oh, that's right. One of the reasons this brings it up is because I also listened to Kim talk to Heather Bodie, Heather Olson, who also deals with that kind of stuff. And so, of course, when something like this happens, the thing you want to do the most is to tell people, if you're struggling, talk to somebody, like talk, reach out to people. I'm the kind of person who it's hard for me to make sure I keep in touch with all of my friends
Yeah.
because I'm feel like I'm busy making my life happy and keeping myself happy.
Right.
Like it's not like a struggle, but I'm doing a good job at it. So it's for my friends, the people that I love and care about dearly. If I don't reach out to you, it's not because maybe it's because I'm a bad friend, but it's partly because I'm taking care of myself and taking care of my family. And it doesn't mean I love you any less. It just means I'm being a little selfish in that regard, which is, I think everybody should be able to do that and take care of themselves. But for people that do struggle with it, they do need people there for them. And I hope that those people, that's the struggle, right?
Right.
Is those people just don't feel like they can or should go talk to people or whatever. But anyway, so the because that's a topic that I think it's not talked about enough because people are feel like it's a taboo subject and they don't want to say they got it or they don't want to say they deal with it, but at the same time there are people out there dealing with it, and so the more we talk about it the better. But typically I think a lot of people that do commit suicide, they I guess some people end up saying like they just want it out and they just felt like it was all too much. Um, I say this because my cousin, his name was Landon, and his last name was Kramer, Landon Kramer. Um, he, from what I've heard, because like I said, I wasn't super close with him as an adult. He moved up to Seattle. He is genius guy, taught himself how to program, before the internet was prevalent, and ended up working for Amazon and then going over to Microsoft doing programming things like artificial intelligence and just crazy stuff that are beyond my comprehension. But from what they have told me, his family and close friends have told me that he was open about his struggles with depression.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the best thing that you can be. And even instead of sending flowers, their family, knowing Landon, knowing how he was, are saying, "Don't send us anything. We're not looking for, flowers or things that are going to cost money. Instead, go donate to some charity that helps with that kind of stuff." Uh, because the more we can help people, the better we all are. But he was adamant about it,
Yeah.
knowing it's one thing to have a problem, but knowing you have a problem, obviously that's the best, that's the first step you can have to fixing your problem. So I guess just wanted to say that, to say, if you do struggle with it or if you know somebody that struggles with it, just do what you can to talk about it and put it out in the open. It's not something that we need to keep bottled up and hidden from the world. um,
Yeah, I don't think there needs to be as much of a stigma attached to it anymore, because like especially now with what we're all dealing with, like the feelings of isolation definitely probably um exacerbate a lot of those feelings. So
right.
I think the reason why a lot more people are being vocal about it is because like maybe maybe like their regular day-to-day lives before this pandemic, they were just so busy that they weren't like still enough and present enough to acknowledge how they were feeling and what they were going through, because it was always go 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 on to the next thing, on to the
Hmm.
next thing. But now that we're kind of like stuck in one spot and we're kind of being forced to like stay in our own little bubbles, like yeah, it does feel very isolated, even even if you still have your community that you live in. Like you still miss your friends that you used to go travel to go see, or you still miss your family that lives you know a car ride away from you, or things like that. And yeah, just check on your people. Just check on your people. Make sure, like, hey, I know like everybody's struggling through this time. Just want to make sure you're good. Even just like a message. It's like, hey, I know we haven't talked in a while, but just wanted to see if you were okay. And yeah, I had I had one of my really close friends in high school. His dad had actually committed suicide, and it was a surprise for them, and for him to go through that as a kid, like, or not really as a kid, but like, as a high school, someone who graduated high school, like, it's a lot to process for the family and for the people that they leave behind. And yeah, it's a very dynamic feeling. Like, you could be good one day, and then like something could trigger you, or just a collection of things can start overwhelming you, and then it feels like a really heavy burden. And then, of course, you don't want to put that burden on somebody else, or you might feel like you're bringing someone else down if you reach out to them, but you're really not, because, like, I
Yeah.
feel like, um, even if there are some people, who might react in that way, I think for the most part, I want to believe, like, in the good and humanity right now. And I want to believe that, like, if you would reach out to somebody, even if you're just feeling just like not like yourself, I would think that whoever you reach out to, there's a reason for that. There's a reason why you reach out to that person, and that person will respond in kind.
Heather said it very well on the episode with Kim, in saying that you get to a point, at least for her, she gets to a point where she just doesn't feel like she wants to do anything. And some people try and look at it as, I need to have a plan and have this like action based thing to get out of this. But instead, you just need one step.
Yeah.
And that first step might be calling a counselor. It might be taking a walk outside, but you got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And, if you're sitting around, I guess just wallowing, not wallowing is the wrong word, but um, contemplating and delving on it, yeah, you know, take a step in the right direction. I mean, that's the same thing that for most anything, right? People who are overweight need to make a change and get out of that. You just take a step forward, and that first step will start to build and grow momentum and get better and better.
Yeah, it's little baby steps, and I think everyone experiences it differently, and everyone uh yeah, everyone just has different experiences with, like, their anxiety or their depression. And I think it was probably like as we were all kind of starting to quarantine. But like, I was still meeting with a counselor through telehealth, and it was super convenient, and it was super
Mhm.
helpful, and it was nice just to be able to just to talk to somebody else, just it's so refreshing, even if it was just us just talking,
Yeah.
about nothing. Like, she wasn't being super analytical on me or anything. And there's I think there was this negative stigma with, like, mental health counseling and the whole mental health field in general, but, like, it's a very real and necessary thing.
The Conan O'Brien podcast, actually, one of the ads, I love the ads they do because he does them silly, but one of the ads that he does, and he actually does it very seriously, is one for like a hotline type thing where you call and talk to a counselor.
Mhm.
And I'm sure they have a website that you sign up through and everything. But um, and if it's a person that you don't feel like you're matching up with, then you try somebody else with you, and it's people like in your area too. So it's not just somebody from India
Yeah.
or whatever. So they have trained professionals, and it's like a whole network of them across the world. So I don't know what the website is, but I know there are things out there. So even if you feel like you've got nobody else,
Yeah.
there are people who out there that are trained, paid, of course, but trained to handle and help.
Well, and then I'd like to also point out that, like, if you have benefits through your employer, like, my last few employers have had this kind of program where they have your EAP program, that some people don't even know about, and it's a
Mhm.
completely free service that's available to them. And that's how I was able to connect with my counselor, was because my EAP program, I was able to get like so sessions, 6 or 8 sessions or something like that with my counselor for free. Like no
Nice.
not paying anything, my employer doesn't know about it because it's like a completely independent thing that's handled. It's just a different benefit that I get from my employer. But like, and even though I know like unemployment is a thing right now, but if you have benefits through your employer and you don't know if you have that kind of program, it's definitely something to look into, because not only do they provide services like that, but they provide other kind of services to like help, like if you're struggling financially or, things like that.
Right.
So yeah, I'm glad you brought that up though, because I think it just needs to be talked about more, and then there won't be such like a negative stigma attached to it. Like the more we talk about it, the more it's like acknowledged, and the more we're aware of like people that might be having some struggles.
For sure. I, if I were to give some advice to people that struggle with that, they may look at me and say, "You don't know what it's like. Shut up."
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that saying I don't have struggles with depression doesn't mean that I don't have emotions that are sometimes high and sometimes low. Now, for people that know me, know that my emotions are typically more middle of the road. And while that doesn't present as high of highs, it also doesn't present as low of lows. So it kind of works for me. But I know the best thing that I do for myself is whenever the lows happen, just to remember that it's just an emotion. Like it's not something I did wrong, or uh, for me, it's not even anxiety. But if I do have a down emotion, maybe a down day, maybe I just don't feel cheery for no weird reason. That's all it is. It's just an emotion. It's going to come back around, and I don't know, that little just tidbit of acknowledgement of there's nothing wrong here. I'm just having an emotion about who knows what. Maybe something that was on my mind, or the way I felt like I didn't work out for the week, or something. Who knows what it is. But it's just acknowledging that and recognizing it for what it is, I think. So that's how I deal with it, and maybe that's what's helping me to not have that problem, but maybe I also just don't know. So just trying to help as the way I know how.
Well, I'm sorry to hear about your cousin.
It's a shame. Definitely a shame. All right. Let's I feel like I keep getting noise. Let's change gears here and go on to toughest. Of course, as with anything, actually, this does bring up another topic that I wanted to talk about. As with anything, if you want to reach out to us because you're listening to our voice right now, and you're comforted by listening to us, but you feel like you know us, don't hesitate to reach out. That's why we do this, because we want to have those conversations with the community. And the ocrtalk@gmail.com, Facebook, Instagram, we're here for any of those messages, so don't hesitate to ask anything. I also thought about, while listening to Kim talk about how she has started an OCR Coven Facebook group.
Yeah.
And I was like, why did we not do that when we first started OCR Talk? That was the whole point, is to get conversations going. And instead, like a bozo, I thought, let me put the topic list in the Facebook post, and then we'll talk about it there. Well, Facebook is a terrible place to have a conversation. So a Facebook group would have been a much better idea, and I feel like a moron for not having done so. But so thanks, Kim, for reminding me that I'm not always the smartest man, and sometimes I don't get it all right. I mean, we were trying to do all kinds of new things
Right.
there, but we've settled into
all things like social media for OCR report. So you might have been more
sure.
in tune with.
Yeah, for sure. So there's all those places still to have conversations, though. We're here. Virtual toughest happened, it was a hot night, and 12 hours, 8 to 8. Lucky for me, it was it actually took place Central time zone, because that's where the original toughest was supposed to be, toughest Chicago. And I've heard a lot of, this is how they should have done it better, and it could have been so much better of an experience. Next time they should do it like this. And I feel like I've been hearing a lot of negative against it from some people, not everybody, but there are definitely those people out there. But man, I enjoyed it a lot, and I enjoyed the format, and I enjoyed the fact that the Zoom call did not have 1,000 people at the same time, because I mean, I don't think that's entertaining for anybody.
Yeah.
Like, you can't talk to each other. You can still only have conversations with a couple of people at a time. So I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the fact that the runs themselves were broken up by weird things, like packing your backpack full of your booksack full of trash. But the exercises in between, the obstacles weren't just straight up exercises. They were something with a twist, or sometimes they weren't exercises at all. And I thought that just made it fun, because when things get silly, you never know how it's going to go, and it's different. It's just different and kind of playful and fun.
Yeah, whenever they definitely had some weird chat. The whole taping the cup to my hands and everything. But it's like silly things like that, but just like they make you think, or they make you remember, like, hey, don't take yourself so seriously. Like, it's a virtual race, push yourself as hard as you want, but it's still a virtual race. Like,
and then you're out running around with cups on your hands, and you see cars pass you by, and they know they see your cups on your hands, and they're like, what's happening? So you're thinking about all that every single time a car passes. So that definitely made it interesting.
Try and like conceal your cups at all? Like, I definitely felt like I was like, maybe if I pretend like I'm reaching for something in my pack, they won't see the cups taped to my hand.
No, I just accepted it and just had them out there, out for the world to see. I made a joke. April was like, man, people are going to see you. And I was like, yep, neighbors out there are going to be like, there goes old cup hands again, out going for weird runs. What a weirdo. Like it was a normal thing. But let's talk a moment about the participant numbers. Do you know, I don't know. I know from the, I don't think I have it at the moment. The last time I looked at the results was when I put in my own, like the day after the race. And I want to say it only said about 300 and something people. So that's how many people actually put in their times into the leaderboard. But that doesn't mean that's how many people signed up. Any idea?
From what I remember Kyle saying on the Zoom call, between America and the UK, there was almost 1,200 participants signed up.
Okay, so between the two.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm thinking roughly maybe 600 or so from the US signed up. And that's just a rough estimate.
Okay. So not quite Lazarus Run Across Tennessee numbers, but
right.
But we got, we got the bib in ahead of time, so it kind of even just running around in the neighborhood, and that kind of gave it a little bit I'm doing something legit. I'm not just doing a virtual race that I signed up for and I'm running it whenever,
Yeah.
This is a thing. I'm doing this right now.
I was excited leading up to it. I had the jitters and everything, all those pre-race jitters. And especially whenever Sean was giving his start line speech on the Zoom, I was like, oh man, I miss this so much.
I ran it and did live stream, which I felt pretty proud about.
Yeah.
I had a pretty sweet setup outside where I really put in some work to make the live stream as seamless as possible, and as where I didn't have to do as much work. So I literally, once this thing started, I had everything, queued up to happen at the beginning of it until I did my intro, and then all I did was switch between the two scenes, the one with me and the one with the Zoom call, and the Zoom call, and uh, in that, I also had a little tablet with some shortcuts on it. So, like, that's how I did the transition from one to the other. I just pressed a button on a tablet. I didn't, because my computer at my desk in my room was the one, producing the live stream itself. So I had all my stuff outside to kind of keep an eye on it and do transitions, but also pull up, show what lap I was on. So I had a shortcut for that. And then also to pull up comments from Facebook and YouTube, which was really awesome. So it went off really, really well. And, just to say, I expect whenever it gets to where we are actually going back to races and OCR Report is doing, actual live race coverage, I think we got something finally. I've been working on this crap all year, and it's just, I feel like I'm there. I feel like I'm there. And there's things to tweak to make the production quality better, but I think we've got something that can actually work.
Yeah,
so pretty happy with that. But running the race was good. I felt pretty good. I just tried to keep it slow, and it was just hot, and I sweated so much that I couldn't keep going at some point. I definitely got super dehydrated. 30 miles in, and I was just like, we started walking. A buddy came and ran that last couple laps with me. We started walking, and we got about 3/4 of a mile in, and I was just like, even walking was a struggle. And so I just called it from there, because it was like, I wasn't sure I'd be able to make it back, or, at that point. But up until then, I had a great time, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Up until that point. Yeah, I think I had dealt with something similar. Definitely not as bad, though. Like, I think it was whenever I had messaged y'all in the group text that I was like, oh, my stomach, something's going on in my stomach.
And that was early on,
Yeah,
right?
that was early on. That was like maybe second or third lap or something. And I was like, I don't know what's going on with my stomach, but it's not happy with me. So like, I just kind of took a few more minutes, and I just ate a little bit extra, and I drank a little bit extra, and then I was feeling like semi decent. I was definitely still not 100%, but I was like, maybe I can just like put myself out there, and if I just start going, like, I'll just have to suck it up. And I think like whatever I ate and drank, and like nutrition wise, I think I was just falling behind on, and it caught up with me on that lap, and I felt better. Like, yeah, I just kind of pushed myself out there. Yeah, there was definitely like a water bottle that I had mixed some Noon in, and I was going to have like a Noon water bottle and a regular water bottle. And whenever I drank out of that Noon water bottle, like, something smelled off in that water bottle. And I was like, oh, I probably kicked myself in the butt with that. And I was like, I don't even want, that thing's going straight in the trash. I don't even want to see it right now. So after that, I felt okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I probably could have. I drank only straight water, just regular water, and I probably should have had some more electrolytes.
Yeah.
So it just caught up with me, and I just didn't hydrate properly in some form or fashion.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna do some research on is there a way to keep yourself from sweating so much? Because I feel like I've got to drink so much water to combat that.
Probably not. You just have to get the electrolyte tablets or the salt tablets. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Like, that's why people get sweat tests done, to see how much they sweat every hour while they're exercising. But
Where do you get those? I need a sweat
I
test.
don't know. I don't know if it's worth the money at this point right now for me. But yeah, one thing I had to contend with was like the haze. Like, I definitely thought about, like, it was probably the Wednesday before, the day that I rolled my ankle. It was probably that day that I was really thinking, I was like, maybe if I just find like a really cheap flight to Dallas or Louisiana, like, I could just like fly in, run my race down there away from all the smoke where it's nice and flat, and then like fly back on Sunday night. And yeah, I mean, plane tickets at that point were like $250 a piece. So I was like, yeah, that's not happening. But it's definitely something I'm thinking about for Worlds now, because my course for toughest that I plotted out for myself. So the flattest I could get it was there was still about 400 feet of gain. And that was the flattest I could possibly plot out a 5-mile route where I started from my house and ended at my house.
That's about how much they had in Atlanta,
I
right?
think so, yeah. So it was, but I was also at like 6,200 feet of elevation.
Right. Yeah.
So not only is it harder to breathe, but I also have the smoke from the wildfires, which actually it wasn't as bad that night. It wasn't too bad because I could still see like a decent sunset. But and yeah, but in the middle of the night, I definitely couldn't see anything up in this.
Oh, wow.
Like, it was just terrible. But my breathing wasn't too terrible. I mean, the air quality was less than 200. So I guess that I think in California where Carla was, it was like what, 400 something like
Ooh,
that. I don't know. It was
yeah.
crazy. But yeah. So I was pretty glad about how my results came out. I didn't tell anybody that I wanted to hit 35, but that was like my secret goal. So that was like the number I had in my head.
Yeah, that's killer. You and Mark both got 35, and you guys beat me because I dropped out after 30. And man, that's so cool. You guys did really well. I know I had heard about your stomach issues at the beginning, and I was like, oh man, there goes Anna with a problem. She's gonna have to drop out again. But you made it through and got through and freaking crushed it after that.
Yeah, I think we haven't had an event to do that for, right? So like I was like, this is my only event. If I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it. Like let's freaking do this, Like, so yeah, it was good.
What shoes did you run in?
I started off in my usual Torins, my regular Torins, and then after, there's just so many miles on those, like the tread and stuff is starting to wear off on the bottom of those shoes because I ran in them so much. After like the first or the second lap, or no, it was after the squats in the shower. I changed clothes and I changed my shoes, and I switched to the Torin plushes, and those were a little bit better because I think
The plushes. That's what I ran the whole thing in, and it is a difference between those and the regular Torins for sure.
Yeah, I feel like there's more support in the regular Torins, but the plushes just like have that little extra cushion feel to them.
Yeah.
Do you have any
Very
blisters
nice.
like everybody's complaining about?
I did not. I ran with 2 socks on and tried it with no lubricant at all. So I wanted to see how does 2 socks do without lubricant, and they did great. I started to get a slight hot spot on the like palm of my foot after doing the squats under the water because I kept my shoes on, and so just that I guess squishing with the water. Kind of got that going. So after that happened, I ended up putting some fresh socks on and some lubricant on that one spot. But the normal spots that I normally get blisters, not a thing.
Nice. Yeah, I didn't have any
Those things
blisters. I didn't have any blisters. I know Caitlin was struggling with some blisters, and I talked to her this week about maybe it's like the fit of the shoe, because I know sometimes some people don't like quite have the right fitting shoes.
right.
Before I started running, before I got fitted for a shoe, I realized that I was running in a shoe that was almost a full size too small for me. And
Same here.
yeah, so I really didn't want to go up in size because I don't know, it was a vanity thing or something, whatever. But now, like, I don't have any issues with my feet other than like they feel tender because they're sore.
Well, I felt like I wanted my shoes tighter because I was doing obstacle racing. So whenever I was on an obstacle, I want to feel every little thing. I want my feet to be like hands. And we do too much running, so you can't do that. And what I learned, the second I went to a shoe store and actually got fitted, is that you need a little bit of room in the front so that you don't get that rubbing happening up there.
Yeah, definitely.
So, yep. Shoe wise, I did that. I showed off those Merrells, the Skyfires, not too long ago. Those things, I'm still loving those for trails, and the Torrens and the Torren plushes for on the concrete and the asphalt. And that's about it. That's all I want right now.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to break down and get a new pair of just the regular Torrens because they're just so beat up, and like I said, the tread is so worn down now. But like I found that whenever I'm doing a run, and sometimes like I'll map out a run that goes from the road to like hard packed dirt trail. As long as it's like hard packed and it's like not too rocky or anything, like those will feel amazing on the trail. And and then I can just go right back to running on the road without having to like worry about changing my shoes or anything.
Nice. Yeah. I'm kind of thinking I won't do the Tough Mudder challenge to get the Holy Grail. It doesn't, like, I'm okay if I don't.
I just figured there's nothing else to do. So.
Well, yeah, no. If you're enjoying it, yeah, absolutely do it. I've just been enjoying the challenges themselves.
Yeah.
By listening to Carlo and Josh and Carlo talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah, this will be my first month doing the Tough Mudder challenges. I've been a part of the group and like just seeing what everybody's going through in the group, in the Facebook group. But this will be my first month doing it with them and like tracking and doing all that stuff. So
cool. During Toughest, they showed a lot of, like, since everybody was posting their obstacles online, they were going through the hashtags and finding them and showing them throughout the event. That was pretty cool as well. So although we didn't get to have that big interaction, they were still showing basically the people out on the course.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool. And then like we got to be a panelist or whatever, or be on the Zoom call with them, I guess, periodically throughout the night, like as people were coming in to do their challenges and their obstacles.
Right. Did you ever do that?
I think I talked with them before my squats in the shower, maybe. I think.
Huh. I need to. Yeah, I need to find out. I need to go back and look at the live stream and see if I can see you on there, or it might have happened while I was in, because it seems like me, you, and Mark were all coming in for obstacles about the same time.
Yeah. And then I know Mike and Caitlin were on there for their planks, I think, maybe.
Really? Nobody said that. That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought that was really cool because you get to see how a lot of people were like doing their obstacles and stuff. So that was really cool.
Yeah. Well, here's to Virtual World's Toughest. It definitely still won't be the same.
No.
But it's what we got. So
yeah, no, I'll be excited if I can make it happen. I probably will go down to Dallas and visit my mom, and maybe run it with y'all and see how like doing it with a group will change my experience. I guess.
I do think that would be really killer.
Yeah, there was some lonely parts whenever I was like, oh, this is so lame, like just running by myself.
Yeah. And, obviously not only like we did a good job of having our own group, even though we were apart, we were still had a text message group going, and all of our pit people were checking in on each other. And then we were able to also check in since we were running with our phones, check in out on the runs and stuff too. That was really, really neat.
Yeah, I definitely did that too. Cause whenever I would stop and walk, I would just pull my phone out and be like, what's going on in the group text? Who's in, who's doing what? And, that made it go by a little bit better.
Yeah, it was very similar to, when you're out on World's Toughest, like and normally you come into the pit and you're asking, hey, how's so-and-so doing? So it was a lot like that. It kind of had that same feel. It's just, of course, you didn't have anybody to chat with in person while you were out running.
Yeah.
So yeah, that would be pretty rad if we did that. The neighborhood I'm moving into has a paved trail literally across the street. Our house is on a corner, on an inside corner, and across the street there's no houses, and there's a little paved trail that runs through that area and goes behind, the other houses nearby. So I think it would be a perfect spot to pit out of my garage and hit that trail and run. I don't know. I'd have to figure out what the best layout would be, but I mean, we could. I mean, shoot, we could. We could go. Yeah, we could go sneak into like Eagle Mountain or something and do that. But I'm pretty sure nobody wants to do the elevation if they don't have to.
No. I'm good with that. Like, I really kept trying to be positive with myself and be like, just think how good you'll be at climbing after this. But yeah, my quads and my butt just hated me.
Well, I think that about wraps it up from me. Anything else you want to talk about?
No. Actually, that if I did come to Dallas and Mark came to Dallas as well, we could practice for our relay race that's coming up in March.
That's true. That's true.
Which I still don't know how that's going to work, honestly. Like, is somebody supposed to follow us in a van or something to be our pit crew or something? I don't know. I don't know how it's going to work.
Well, since we're relay, wouldn't we be able to, like, if we had to, wouldn't we be able to drive, take turns driving?
I would think so. Possibly. I feel like I need more information on that.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
All right. I saw Kevin Harkins today. He got his tank top. He's got a red OCR Talk tank top that he won on the last giveaway. He was rocking that, and Sophia said she got her hoodie, and she's just waiting for the cold weather to come around now. Nice. So no giveaway today, but I'm pretty sure once I get into my house and things get settled and slowed down a little bit, I'll double check the monies and see what we got, because I'm pretty sure we still got enough for at least another giveaway.
Yeah, definitely.
So I'm gonna go move and get myself legit rig in my garage and all that, and get myself a running trail nearby and start maybe even get a pegboard or something cool like that.
Moving on up.
Yeah. Yep. Oh yeah. Well, speaking of which, I'm gonna have an actual office. In that office room is gonna have. I'm gonna put a green screen in there. I'm gonna have it to where like my audio stuff for podcasting and doing, live streaming. All that stuff's gonna be like set up and ready to go. So I ain't got to break it out every single time I want to do something. Right. Like everything is gonna be. It's gonna be pretty nice to actually have space for that stuff, and hopefully kids on the other side of the house and not next to the next door, because I'm pretty sure. I don't know if you could hear them, but I know I can.
You're not having to resort to hiding in your closet to record episodes.
Well, I mean, if I had a closet that was big enough to get in it, maybe I would. But I am curious. The office, the room that I'm thinking about making my office in, has a door that goes into the attic. I'm curious how the acoustics would be in there. I could probably pad it up if I wanted to,
in the attic,
and make that the recording booth. That'd be pretty cool.
Just have a fan up there, because man, that would get hot.
Right.
Holy cow.
Yeah. All right. Well, let me go beat these kids up and throw them around for a bit. Anna, nice talking to you.
Good talking to you, Jason.
Listeners, thanks for listening in. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you next time. And, hopefully see you at a race in the near future.
Hopefully.
All right. Take care.
Take care, guys.
Declan, you want to say hello?
No.
Bye.